First, we need to expand the conversation everywhere about what is happening to our precious little planet and what we need to do to adjust. We need to listen carefully to what the scientists are saying, other specialists, about how the planet is changing, what is likely to happen. We need not only to become better informed, but to engage in a conversation where we can add value. Second, we need to reset our moral compass, lest we fall back into a Hobbesian world of universal conflict with nations and groups fighting to obtain desperately needed resources. We're already suffering from the moral collapse of that precipitated the financial crisis, as leading economists lament the unparalleled grab for riches in the lead up to the global financial crisis. And what is especially significant to me is that many of the world's leading economists blame the economic crisis on a collapse in ethical behaviour and are calling for a renewal of values, not just among financiers, but in the discipline of economics itself. As Joseph Stiglitz, former chief economist at the World Bank and a Nobel Prize laureate, which we would sometimes see on television, wrote in his book Freefall, the Freefall of the Economy, that the power of special interests, especially the financial markets, has shaped the economic rules to their liking and resulted in what he called a moral deficit and the unrelenting pursuit of profits and the elevation of the pursuit of self-interest. He continued his critique this year in his next book, The Price of Inequality, and again highlighted the collapse of moral standards. I'll just quote this paragraph for you. Something has happened to our sense of values when the end of making more money justifies the means. Much of what has gone on can only be described by the words moral deprivation. Something wrong happened to the moral compass of so many people working in the financial sector and elsewhere. It's not just Stiglitz who's making these claims. Jeffrey Sachs, the coordinator of the Millennium Development Goals, you might recall now at the Earth Institute at Columbia University, wrote in his new book, The Price of Civilization, that market institutions have run wild over politics and public values, resulting in extreme inequality, and the contagion has spread what he calls its corruption, corporate power and environmental threats. He called for a return to civic virtue to reconnect public values and public policy. This is another quote from him. The key question is global and urgent. How can capitalism in the 21st century deliver the three overarching goals sought by societies around the world: economic prosperity, social justice, and environmental sustainability? Another economist, the biographer of Keynes, Robert Skidelsky, wrote in the Australian Financial Review in 2009, quote, "At the heart of the moral failure is the worship of growth for its own sake, rather than as a way to achieve the good life. The only moral compass we now have is the thin and degraded notion of economic welfare. This moral lacuna explains uncritical acceptance of globalisation and financial innovation." And the Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Rowan Williams, in 2009 concurred, and I'll quote again, "The economic ills of the last couple of years have brought to light a widespread anxiety about the kind of society we have become, and even more, the kind of human person. In trivialising the meaning of wealth, we have also reduced the range of human reflection and questioning around well-being and the good life." Other church leaders have made similar responses, particularly Pope Benedict in his 2009 encyclical, Caritas in Veritate. And the next year he added, again a short paragraph, "The worldwide financial breakdown has also shown the error of the assumption that the market is capable of regulating itself, apart from public intervention and the support of internationalised moral standards. This assumption is based on an impoverished notion of economic life as a sort of self-calibrating mechanism driven by self-interest and profit-seeking. As such, it overlooks the essentially ethical nature of economics as an activity of and for human beings. End of quote. So this is home territory for the churches and other religious and ethical traditions, of course. But these have been undermined, as we know, in our modern culture by the uncritical acceptance of materialist values, as well as by the increasing individualism that has hollowed out many of our institutions, including trade unions and political parties, and not just the churches. In addition, the sexual abuse crisis, particularly in the Catholic Church, has greatly damaged trust in church teaching and leaders and structures. What I'm saying is we need to refine or redefine our sense of what the good life implies. In common parlance, it means a materially high standard of living. This will no longer do, since it's becoming increasingly unreasonable to think in such narrowly materialistic terms.